dominated public discussion with relation to the president's trip to South Africa. Members of the public will recall that President Chakwera left Malawi on Thursday, the 12th of November, out of Kamuzu International Airport, flew into the Waterkloof Military Base Airport in Pretoria to have bilateral discussions with his counterpart, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa. And he was accompanied on that trip with various members of his administration, including the Minister of Trade, Honorable Sostin Gwengwe, the Minister of Health, Honorable Kumbize Chipwanda, as well as Minister of Homeland Security, Honorable Richard Chimwendo Banda. He was also accompanied by the Minister of Gender and Social Services, Social Welfare, Honorable Patricia Kaliati. He was also accompanied by the Minister of Labor, Honorable Ken Kandodo. And he was also accompanied by the Minister of Finance, Honorable Felix Mlusu. And these were members that formed the delegation that the President took with him for those bilateral talks with his counterpart. And the President was keen on making progress on the signing of a memorandum of understanding on economic cooperation between Malawi and South Africa. And so he ensured that he was well supported by key members of his administration whose portfolios would be relevant to those discussions. And so on his return, his scheduled return from South Africa was at 1530 hours, 3:30 p.m. on Friday the 13th, and yet he was delayed in his departure from Pretoria for 7 hours and was not able to leave the country until 10:30 p.m. When he returned to Malawi and landed at Kamuzu International Airport, it was around 12:30 midnight. He was welcomed by the Vice President, Right Honorable Saulus Klaus Chilima, as well as other senior members of government, although he did not stay long on the tarmac because it was late in the night and he wanted people to be relieved to go and rest. Now, there are a couple of issues that are worth making some comment on because they have been dominating public discussion, and obviously they are matters of public interest because Malawians would like to know what happened. Now, as of this morning, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I'm sure those of you that are diligent in the press have received a statement that has been issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as of this morning, and it has actually been posted on the Malawi government Facebook page. I would like to read that statement in its entirety in the event that Malawians or any members of the press have not come across it. And it addresses the issue of the President's delay and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs' position on the causes of the delay and what is being done about those causes. The statement reads, "The Ministry of Foreign Affairs wishes to inform the general public that the homebound departure of the plane carrying His Excellency Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, President of the Republic of Malawi, and Her Excellency Madam Monica Chakwera, First Lady of the Republic of Malawi, was delayed by 7 hours on Friday the 13th November 2020. The plane was scheduled to leave South Africa at 15:30 and did not leave until 22:30 hours. Chief among the causes of the delay was the South African government's refusal to allow Malawi's advanced delegation to travel back home together with President Chakwera and his delegation, citing unspecified security reasons. The South African authorities' inexplicable refusal to let Malawi's president leave with his advance team came despite being informed of the arrangement in advance, in conformity to a similar arrangement made in all the countries President Chakwera has visited thus far. Dissatisfied with the vague security reasons given for the refusal, His Excellency the President decided that he would not travel back to Malawi without his advance team. In the impasse that followed, the Malawi delegation proposed to the South African authorities that only President Chakwera and his delegation should leave from Pretoria's Waterkloof military air base where their plane had landed, while the advance team should be picked up en route from OR Tambo International Airport. For no apparent reason, the South African authorities rejected this proposal as well. The Malawi delegation then spent the next 6 hours trying to reason with the South African authorities before the proposal was accepted. In retrospect, the Malawi delegation was justified in its dissatisfaction with the unspecified security reasons cited for the refusal. To begin with, President Chakwera's plane was parked at Pretoria Waterkloof Military Air Base, a highly secure facility under guard by the South African police throughout the visit. Secondly, at the time that Malawi's advance team was being barred from boarding the plane, their passports and luggage were thoroughly checked by uniformed police officers instead of South Africa's immigration officers. Thirdly, the entire delegation's luggage was loaded onto the flight by military personnel from the South African Defense Force. Fourthly, at the scheduled time of departure from the military air base, there were dozens of South African security personnel on the ground who not only inspected the plane and its cargo, but also inspected every passenger on entry. The Malawi delegation complied with all these security measures out of deference to the vague security concerns of the South African authorities, despite the fact that the manner in which they were conducted and the delay caused breached diplomatic protocols commensurate with the dignity of President Chakwera's office and person. As such, the Malawi delegation was justified to dismiss as unacceptable and unsatisfactory the South African authorities' use of unspecified security reasons to hinder President Chakwera from leaving with his advance team. Even after agreeing to let the advance team board the plane at OR Tambo International Airport, the South African authorities subjected the team to additional security checks before and after boarding the plane, again without giving any specific security reasons. In fact, to date, those security reasons have not been communicated through formal channels. The government of Malawi is aware and grateful that a public statement was recently issued by the South African government, exculpating President Chakwera from false allegations dominating the South African media that his presidential plane was used as a conduit for trafficking 2 Malawians wanted by South African authorities. Notwithstanding, the government of Malawi notes with concern that the statement falls short of acknowledging that the treatment President Chakwera was subjected to upon his departure was improper and incongruous to the warm hospitality he received upon his arrival. So this is a statement that has been issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs this morning related to the incident that happened at the Waterkloof Military Air Base in Pretoria. And so for those of you that may have had any questions related to why President Chakwera was delayed, that was the cause of the delay, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is yet to receive a formal explanation as to what these security reasons were. So that's the status related to the delay of the president on his return from South Africa. Now, the statement, as you will note, makes reference to another statement that was issued by the South African government. That statement was issued from the South African government's Office of Communications and Information Systems. And essentially, those of you that have seen it, which it was issued yesterday, and that statement essentially stated in no uncertain terms that the fake news that had been making the rounds in the South African press as well as in social media, that President Chakwera's plane was used as a conduit to traffic 2 Malawians who are wanted by the South African authorities, are categorically false and therefore should be relegated to the domain of fake news. And so we will have no further comment on that because that matter has already been clarified, even though, as far as we're concerned, it should never have been necessary to clarify that matter, because the very suggestion that President Chakwera would have a wanted individual or anybody wanted by the authorities in any country board his presidential plane in order for that individual to be trafficked back to Malawi. The idea is beneath the dignity of the office of the president, much less the dignity of the person of President Chakwera himself. And so it is unfortunate that those clarifications from the South African government, as well as from other quarters, have been necessary in this day and age. But that issue has been cleared up by the South African authorities, and as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has stated, Malawi authorities are grateful that that statement was issued. But we'll make no further comment on the same. Now, in a related matter, it is publicly known, at least by statements made by the individual in question who is wanted by the South African authorities. A statement was issued by that individual stating that he is in Malawi and stating that he is in the course of contacting the Malawian authorities in order to seek assistance with regard to his case, which he is wanted for and which he is meant to answer in the South African court and judicial system. As you know, that particular issue relates to matters of law enforcement. The South African authorities have made it clear that they are going to seek extradition assistance from the Malawi government. That touches on law enforcement. And the Malawi government is awaiting that kind of communication in order to work with their South African counterparts. But all of those issues have to do with law enforcement. And in this country, under President Chakwera, it has always been made categorically clear that law enforcement agencies work independent of the office of the president. And so we have no answers for any questions that have to do with what law enforcement agencies in this country are going to do about the situation, because it is not in the domain of the office of the president to decide what to do about a case that touches on law enforcement. Malawi has a police service. It has partnerships through Interpol with other police agencies in the region, and this is their domain. It is their job to handle this matter. And it is not the responsibility of the office of the president to be commenting on the same. And so we have no answers in any way, shape, or form as to what Malawian law enforcement agencies are going to do about the extradition request or what they are going to do about the presence of the individual in Malawi, because all of those things have to do with laws that have or may not have been broken, and it is law enforcement agencies that are responsible for determining and ascertaining what to do about those issues. And so those questions should be fielded to those agencies, because they are, under this administration, expected, resourced, equipped to handle those matters independently. And so that is as much as we can say about that. The president will not be involved because it has nothing to do with his office. He will not be involved. He will not hold meetings with anybody on the issue. He will not grant favors, because it is not his domain to grant favors to anybody, and he will not issue directives as to what should be done about the situation. Law enforcement agencies will handle that matter according to their professional standards, in accordance with the law, and in accordance with their set procedures for criminal investigations. And when they have determined the matter and have ascertained what to do about it, I'm sure they will do their due diligence to brief the Malawian public accordingly. So that's a passing comment that I wanted to make on that issue, and hopefully that is clear enough. Now, there is one other related matter, and to be frank, this is slightly coincidental, but I know that it has generated some public interest, especially in the social media space. There have been some photographs that have been making the rounds, in which, in the photographs, is myself, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Eisenhower Mkaka, and a gentleman by the name of Mr. Sulugwe, who is a former employee of the same individual who is the person of interest in the matter that I just spoke about, as well as a South African gentleman, 4 of us. And it has been insinuated within the social media space that this photograph presents evidence that the Chakwera administration and the government was somehow involved in the transition of the person in question from South Africa to Malawi. Now, it has already been dismissed by the South African government that they are certain that this individual was not assisted by the administration to come here. However, suffice to say that with regard to that photograph, the photograph was taken on the evening of Thursday, which was the day the president and his delegation, of which I was part, arrived in the country. We had done our business for the country, and in the evening, I went by myself to the Menlyn shopping mall to take a walk and to have a look around. And as I was walking in the shopping mall, I met these individuals randomly in the middle of that evening. These are all Malawians with the exception of one gentleman. And as happens, and I'm sure most Malawians who have traveled abroad are familiar with this experience, that when you're traveling in unfamiliar lands and you are surrounded by foreigners and you meet a Malawian, any Malawian who speaks to you in Chichewa, it feels good to hear the language from home. And so this individual, who is not a friend of mine, with whom I have no relationship at any level of government business, greeted me because he recognized me from the weekly brief, and he expressed admiration for how we update Malawians on what's happening within their administration. So we greeted each other for a few minutes, and he asked for a photograph while I was with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We took the photo and we went our separate ways. Anybody trying to generate a story from that incident is generating pure fabrications. There is no there, and that is all there is to be said about it. All right, with your permission, I would now like to proceed and give you an update on the President's activities over the last week. As you know, on Monday, President Chakwera was in Mzuzu, and he presided over the inauguration of Flag Week in collaboration with the Malawi Council for the Handicapped, Makoha. That same day, Monday the 9th of November, he met with the Minister of Agriculture in order to get an update specifically about some of the glitches that have been experienced around the country with regard to the rollout of the Affordable Input Program for affordable fertilizer. He also met with members of Mzuzu constituency, and later met with members of Freedom Party, which is an alliance partner. The president then met with councillors from Mzuzu City for a presidential conference. You might recall that back in late August, President Chakwera issued a radio address. I believe it was on the 25th of August when he issued that address. And in that address, he promised that he would have 3 conferences with councillors of the 3 cities in order for them to brainstorm on some of the transformation that needs to take place across the cities. So that was Monday, the 9th of November. On Tuesday, the 10th, President Chakwera returned from Zuzu to the capital. And that afternoon when he returned, he met, he was scheduled to meet with the Minister of Natural Resources in order to prepare for the National Cleanup Day. This is Honorable Nancy Tembo, which was going to take place the next day. And then the next morning, on Wednesday, the 11th of November, President Chakwera received U.S. Ambassador to Malawi, His Excellency Mr. Scott, and who was taking leave of the President in order to return to his country to report to D.C. And then shortly after that meeting, the President proceeded to Chinsapo, where he joined the Vice President in participating in the launch of the National Cleanup Day, which is going to be an activity to take place on the second Friday of every month, and the President has appealed to all Malawians to participate in the same. Later that day, the President met with the Minister of Education, Honorable Agnes Nyalonje. As you know, the President, in the week before that, he had issued very strong directives as to what to be done, what should be done about the debacle at the Malawi National Examination Board. And so he wanted to get an update on the same and to follow up on some of the directives he had issued. Then at 3 p.m. on that Wednesday, the President met with the Pan-African Parliament's acting President, Honorable Jamel Boras, as well as members of his delegation. And so that took place here at Kamuzu Palace. And the President closed off his day on Wednesday, the 11th of November, by having a meeting with the Minister of Energy, Honorable Newton Kambala, on that occasion. And then on Thursday morning, the President departed for South Africa, and he spent the next 48 hours there, held bilateral talks with his counterpart, Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa, as well as their delegation. And on Saturday morning, the President went to Kamuzu Academy, where he presided over the Founders' Day. He was accompanied by the Vice President, Right Honorable Saulos Klaus Chilima. He was also accompanied by the First Lady, as well as several members of the administration, including Honorable Agnes Nyalonje of the Ministry of Education, who asked the President to address the gathering on the occasion. And then later that day, the President delivered his weekly radio address to Malawians, in which he gave some updates related to COVID-19, encouraging Malawians to continue observing social distancing, wearing masks, and washing hands. And I observe that in this audience, for example, there are 2 people wearing masks. And this is something that I would like to strongly admonish you to 3 people wearing masks. I would like to strongly encourage you and urge you to sustain, because as members of the press, we're in the media, we're visible to Malawians, we set an example for Malawians. And so the President issued that address on Saturday. He wants us to keep washing our hands, keep maintaining social distance, and he wants us to keep wearing our masks. So please, if I could make an appeal to Malawians, let's follow the guidelines of the health experts, just as the President does, because it's all done out of goodwill to save lives. And so far, we have been very fortunate and blessed as a nation to have so many people that have recovered from COVID-19 and not so many fatalities as other countries have experienced. Sunday morning, the President went to church, as is his custom, and in the afternoon, which was yesterday, the President left the capital city to go to Mangochi to have 3 nights of retreat and to rest. As you know, he has been going at it for the better part of the last 3 years without a break. And so he has elected to go with the First Lady to Chikoko Bay State Lodge, where he will be resting for the next 3 days. He will return by the end of the day on Wednesday in order to be back in the office on Thursday morning. And when he does return, he is going to preside over the graduation ceremony at Luana, which is going to take place that Thursday. I believe that that Thursday is going to be the 19th of November. And then on the 20th, the President is going to participate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the World Children's Day, which is under the auspices of UNICEF. And so that takes us through to the end of the week. And on Saturday, obviously, he would deliver his weekly radio address on a subject matter of his choosing. And so these are some of the highlights from the President's diary. And I'd like to invite the press secretary to come and take your questions on any other matters I may have left out, or any matters you might need clarification on, or that might be of interest to you, members of the press. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Director, for the presidential diary. We will now take a few questions. Yvonne, from The Nation.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I would like to get a bit of information if there has been any communication between the President Chakwera and President Ramaphosa, especially considering the fact that the issue of Shepherd Bushiri has been trending. I know the communication director has said that the President is going to leave everything in the hands of the law enforcement agencies, but I just want to find out if there has been any talk between the two presidents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Yes, the President has been talking to his South African counterpart, President Ramaphosa, but not necessarily on the other aspect of your question, but on the experiences that His Excellency had in South Africa. In as far as the person you are referring to, those issues, the President is not commenting. He has left everything in the hands of the relevant authorities. But on the experience that the President had in South Africa, I can confirm that President Chakwera has been talking to his South African counterpart, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Thank you. Yes, Alfred Chaua from Nyasa Times.
So wambiri zangende Alfred Chaua, Nyasa Times. Pali manong'onong'o kunjaku kunena kuti anthu amene amapanga mabizinesi ya makala akuti tu ali pakalikiliki kuti njinga zawo zikuphwanyidwa, magalimoto ndithu alandidwa, akuti tu kuli mpungopungo kwambiri kunjaku, akuti chipangeni press conference ija president anena kuti tizigwisa ntchito ma barricades. Ndeti mafuna tidziwe kunena kuti kodi khalimeka yakupezani kubomako chifukwa akuona kuti mwina akanadikira kayi pang'ono kuti ma barricades ayambe kupezeka mu mashop osiyana-siyana m'Malawi muno, koma pakadali pano kuti ma barricades anayambe kupezeka koma makala anthu ambakayi kuzunzika choncho, so akufunsa choncho kunjako. So kwambiri
yasukoma kwambiri Mr. Chaua chifukwa cha funso lanu. Ndikukhulupirira kuti munalipo pamene President amachita launch nkhani ya clean up, komanso nthawi imene tinalimo muno nkhani ya environment. Ndinene kunena kuti boma la President Chakwera likuyesetsa kupeza alternative ways yowathandizira anthu amene amachita zamakala. You remember President ananena kuti pali mitengo imene tikhoza kudzala, imene ikhoza kucha nsanga, imene it can specifically be used for makala ndi njira zina. Koma the other part of your question kuti anthu akuzunzidwa ndi zina zotero sitinamve, the ministry responsible would be best to answer the other part of your question, I would refer you to the ministry responsible. Koma ndimafuna ndinene kunena kuti President Chakwera wadzipereka kwa thunthu poonetsetsa kuti titeteze nkhalango zathu, poonetsetsanso kuti pamene tikuteteza nkhalango zathu tidzale mitengo yokwanira komanso imene imachansanga. Apart from that, kunena kuti anthu amene amadalira they are earning through makala apatsidwe ma alternative ngati ma brigade amene muonenawo ndi zina zotero kuti the president even mentioned kunena kuti tikhoza kumayuza gas ndi zina zotero, and deliberate policies, if I can remember the minister that particular day, they are being made kunena kuti gas akhalo chipirako kuti anthu malomo odalira makala tigwiritsa ntchito gas ndi zina zotero. So the other part of your question, I will refer you to the ministry responsible, but I can confirm kuti President Chakwera is very serious pa nkhani za environment. Titeteze dziko lathu, tilichenetse dziko lathu for the generations that are coming. Thank you, Mr. Chauwa. Yes, Kathe Maulidi from Mitch.
All right. My question is on the cleanup initiative.
Yes.
We understand last week several ministers have been going around in the district councils selecting different places where
Can we give Kathy that microphone, please?
So I just want to appreciate the sustainability of these cleanup programs that are going round at the moment. We understand the councils, the district councils, are already facing challenges, even to pay salaries to their employees. So now, have you already sourced the funds to make sure that this initiative is implemented? And if you haven't, already, do you have some funds available to make sure that the initiative goes on? Again, I just want to hear from you on the announcement from Sean. Let me ask you this question in detail. Pakhala pakulankhulidwa zambiri kuti ma weekly presser akononga ndalama, anthu akhala kupempha kuti izimenezi wiki ina iliyonse akukamba zitani, kufika poti mwapanga zoti ma weekly presser amene wazichitika kamodzi pa sabata ziwiri. Mukumvera zimene anthu akhala kuyankhula ma social media?
Zikoma kwambiri chifukwa cha mafunso anu ufunikira kwambiri awiri Mai Maulidi kuchokera ku Mitch. Your first question you're asking on the funds related to the cleanup. The cleanup was launched last week, and launches as they are, they attract the meetings of that magnitude, as you saw in Chinsapo. The following Friday, the councils were busy launching their own way of cleanup. Our understanding is that the launches have been done, and there will be no any other launch. No any minister will be invited for a cleanup or any government official, because now every minister will have the area of his or her choice to clean. So no council will set aside funds for cleanup, because it is the responsibility of every council to clean their premises. Just as I'll be cleaning my house and my place, each minister, each council official will also be tasked to clean their surrounding. Everyone is responsible for his or her own surrounding. The national cleanup which the president launched last week is not a money spinner. No allowances should be given to anyone for cleaning during these second Fridays of every month. So we are not expecting any kind of budget. We are not expecting any kind of arrangement related to funds, because the launches were done. What is now remaining is that when it comes on that particular day, you clean your surrounding, I will clean my surrounding, every minister will clean and do their job as they're supposed to be. So no one will be invited, or no allowances will be given. and no one should ask for any kind of allowance, because this issue has now, this initiative has now been launched, and no one is going to demand anything, or no council will plan for any kind of funds to do this job, because it is the responsibility of every council to make sure that they are cleaning their surrounding. Niwafuna ndineneso nchichewa kunena kuti President Chakwera launched this initiative, anachita launch nkhani yoti tisamalire dziko lathu ndiye Vice President Dr. Saulos Klaus Chilima. Friday lakero ma ministers atsogolera boma anayitanidwa malo osiyanasiyana kukachita launch in different areas. So pano nkhani ya launch yatha, sitikuyembekezeranso kunena kuti minister wina wake kapena any serious government official or kaya ndi makanso akhalanso ndi mwambo woti pachita kukhalano mpaka ndalama za nkhani zogwiritsira ntchitoyi. Ndiye ndikunenanso kuti nkhani yochita yokhondoyi sinjira yoti wina atengerepo ndalama kapena ajerepo ndalama za boma. You have already said kunena kuti makanso wa ena they are struggling pa nkhani ya zachuma. Sitikuyembekezeranso kuti pakhala chikonzero china chake cha clean up. Tsiku likafika inu mudzuka mupanga za khomo panu kapena za kuntchito kwanu. Every bank is responsible for its for cleaning its own premises. Every council iliyonse ili ndi udindo oteteza ndi kusamalira malo awo. Unduna uliwonse uli ndi udindo oteteza ndi kusamalira malo awo. So sitikuyembekezeranso kuti wina anena kuti mundipatse transport kapena fuel ndikupita kwakuti chifukwa aliyense tsopano adzigwira ntchitoyi pamalo pamene akukhala. So sitikuyembekezera kuti pakhalanso ndalama zapadera zogwirira ntchitoyi chifukwa president ndi vice president anayiloncha ntchito imeneyi. Kwatsala tsopano kuti aliyense tsiku likafika avale ndikugwira ntchito yosamala kuti malo athu akhale okongola. I hope that answers your question. The next question, weekly brief. We are working on the communication strategy in as far as these briefs are concerned. Now, these were part of the 100 days and the first days of the administration. Now that we are going into the new year, as a department, we sat down and look where we can best improve these briefs. But as Sean has already said, we are also wanting now to invite cabinet ministers. These are the people that have been tasked by the president to deliver on his behalf. So it is also important, apart from you listening to us, we should now begin to listen also to the ministers, ask them what they have done and what they are doing. And if you remember, the president said after 6 months, he's going to do an appraisal. How many season end, they will be left out. And then we'll continue with those that have been working hard to make sure that the Chakwera agenda is fulfilled. So we don't want to subscribe to the other part of your question. We believe that the weekly brief are very important. We are communicating with the people of Malawi. And as I said in my introductory remarks, our fidelity is to the people. So I think Malawi, they would want to hear more from their government. I don't think Malawi, they would want to hear as many president wow, as many bomalawo likushita. And if that comes with a price, I think that's the price that Malawians will ably be happy to share, to make sure that they know what their president is doing. Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, kuyambira poyambirira sakufuna zinthu zichitika mwachinsinsi, and that's why he has now enacted into law the Access to Information bill. Now it's a law. He wants people to know what his administration is doing. We want to have a transparent administration where people can see and know. This is why even today we are announcing that the president is resting. But we want you to be with the president on every step of the way, and that's what this administration wants to achieve, and we will continue to make sure that we are running a transparent government. A president ajogapo tinena, a president ndi munthu akhoza kudwala tinena, but we don't want to keep Malawians who voted for this administration not aware of what their administration is up to. Let's take another set of questions. Kulinji. Gladys Ntenda Kulinji.
I'm Gladys Ntenda from Kulinji. During the brief, the Director of Communications mentioned the President meeting the Minister of Education. I just
Education?
Yeah. Because the last time the President, he made an address on the money issue, he gave them, the Minister of Education, 1 week to bring up the names of the culprits behind the examination leakage. So I just wanted to know where are we on the money issue. The second question is on the kidney, on the dialysis clinic at KCH, which has closed down from Saturday and referred all the 37 patients to Blantyre.
Yeah.
So the clinic has been facing challenges in as far as the machines most of the times breaking down. I don't know what long-term measures has government put in place for this kidney clinic, because the patients feel like they're not being cared for by the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your two questions, Gladys. Very important questions. The first one, you want to find out what developments have now taken place at Maneb. What we have been told by the ministry is that the CEO there has been suspended over the same, and that they have now the new acting CEO. I think there was a press release issued on the same. We are also told that the minister responsible has written a report on the same to the president. So that's all what I can say as far as the developments are concerned. But all that, I presume they are within the time frame that the president directed to Maneb. The other point worth noting is that the president directed that these exams should be retaken before the end of the month of January, and I hope that the new team there at Maneb will have that in mind. Funsolano la dialysis machine ndi funsolo funika kwambiri Malawi kukhala osautsika ndi kuyimitsidwa kwa machine amene ku Kamuzu Central. I have been on the phone this morning and last night ndi a minister health, ndipo ananditsimikizira kunena kuti by next week Gladys, next week machine amenewa akhala kugwira ntchito ku Kamuzu. In fact, amandiuza kunena kuti they have now repaired 3, which the hospital will decide whether they should start working with those 3 or they wait for the other 3 to be done so that they run them together. And what they have also told us is that they will have 1 on standby. The problem imene inalipo ndi nkhani ya madzi. There is a certain kind of water amene amagwiritsira ntchito, and that water contaminated the whole system. But they have given us highest assurances that by next week the dialysis machine will be working at Kamuzu Central Hospital. That's all what I can say on that question. But patients who have been accessing the machine in Blantyre, the cost has been handled by the Kamuzu Central Hospital. That's what the minister has reported to us. Yes, let's go this side. Taonga from the Times. Can we have microphone this side?
Zina langa ndi Taonga Sabola, nimagwira ntchito ku Times. Choyamba ndi vomereze makamaka pa nkhani imene anena communications director kuti a president sayankhulaponso mang'ombe ena okhudzana ndi nkhani ya kusowa kwa anthu awiri ochokera ku South Africa amene anabwera ku Malawi kuno. Komabe mwina pa nkhani yomweyo ndingofutsapo kuti a president athu a dziko lino la Malawi anachedwetsedwa ndi maola okwana 7 mdziko la South Africa. Mwina a president yo anamva bwanji kuti dziko lina likuakayikira kuti mwina anali involved ndi kusowa kwa anthu ena? Was he embarrassed sort of? Thank you.
Funso lofunika kwambiri ndimafuna ndinene kunena kuti the South African government did not have any problem with the President Chakwera. President Chakwera was ready to leave and no one stopped him, no one searched him. The problem came pamene the advance team had landed at OR Tambo. Now the delegation imene inachoka kuno pachinayi, including myself with President Chakwera, we landed at the Waterkloof military air base. Then mafuna mumvetsetse kunena kuti it is President Chakwera amene ananena kuti ineyo sindinyamuka. It's not that the South African government said kunena kuti simunyamuka. President Chakwera said sindinyamuka mpaka anthu angawa athandizidwe, because I don't want to leave people mbuyo. So the president could have left. Timu imene inabwera pachinayi landing through the military air base was all cleared to go. Koma the problem came pamene the advance team imene inachita land a few days earlier pa OR Tambo popeza ndege inali yomweyi, they now said kunena kuti akwerera pa Waterkloof military air base kuti tidzibwerera. That's where there was now a problem. Kunena kuti ya inu munatsikira ndege ku OR Tambo pano ndi pa air base ya asilikali mukakwerere kumene mudatsikira. Now president said ineyo ndege yanga isinyamuka mpakano advance team zilongosoke, and that's when after several hours of negotiations ndi pamene an agreement was made kunena kuti the advance team should now be taken to OR Tambo, and we left at the military air base. We landed again at OR to pick the team imene inali advance, and we were now leaving at OR Tambo at 10:30. So it took us 2 hours to fly into Lilongwe, and we were landing at 12:30 the same night. So President Chakwera was not searched or nothing happened to him. He was only waiting, and he was not at the airport when all these things are happening. He said ndibwera ku airport iko anthu anga akachidwa clear for takeoff. So the president could have been here by 5:30, but he said siningasiya anthu anga kumbuyo nende kumabwera. So but all the concerns have been raised in that particular press release imene ministry atumiza. So I just wanted to say kunena kuti all was okay with President Chakwera, but he only said I will only leave ndi anthu anga, and that's what servant leadership really does. You want to come again? Follow up on what?
The question that I had asked earlier on, I wanted to find out, because you said that the president managed to speak to President Ramaphosa.
Yes.
I wanted to find out if it's possible for people to understand basically what they discussed.
It was a private discussion, but it was on this issue that I'm talking about.
As the President Ramaphosa apologized.
We are not taking any further questions on the president's telephone call. Yes, sir, at the back.
Yeah, my name is Robert Evans from I just wanted to find out at the forum from the situation on the Education Ministry State Administration by the President. You said you have heard about the ministry report to the President. I just want to understand how it's okay to have the content of the report, because we can presume that the coming with other recommendations, now looking at the time frame we have to January, as the President also said that the exam should be released not later than January. So we want to understand the recommendations if they are end and the contents, what have they found out from the
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert from, you said Rainbow? Yeah, the contents of the report will be known when the time is ripe for you to know. So far, the report is now on the desk of the President, and when the right time comes, you will know the contents of that particular report. But all what I can say is that the ministry is doing all what it can to make sure that the deadlines that the President made are adhered to. We'll take the last question. That should be the very last question. MBC, yes, very brief, we don't have much time.
Zikomo kwambiri, ine ndi Robert Kalindiza kuchokera ku MBC. Nimafuna ndimvetsetsa kwambiri mama kapo potengera kuti vula igwa posachedwa ndipo boma lidayamba kale kuthandiza alimi komanso nzika za dziko lino kuti zipeze fertilizer ndi mbewu zotsika mtengo, koma sindikudziwa ngati mukudziwa kuti anthu alipobe amene akuvutikirabe kuti apeze thandizo limenelo, ngakhale boma lidati pezani koma anthu akumavutikabe kuti apeze zoterozo. Mwina potengera kuti anthu akufuna atapeza nsanga komanso mwina vula isanagwe, boma likutani kuti zoterezi mwina zichitike mwachangu kuti anthu apindule.
Zikomo kwambiri Mr. Kalindiza kuchokera ku MBC chifukwa cha funso lanu, funso lofunika kwambiri. The Chakwera administration linalonjeza Amalawi kuti adzagula fertilizer ndi mbewu pa mtengo wabwino wotsikirapo. Lonjezo limene likutheka, ndigwirizane nanu madera ena pali nkhani za networks zimene tikumazimva, madera ena pali nkhani za mavenda amene akumagula katundu ameneyu, madera ena pali nkhani zoti anthu akumagona kumweko zinthu zosakhala bwino. I'm told that there is now a ministerial committee imene ikuunika nkhani ngati zimenezi. All what the President Chakwera has said, wanena kuti sakufuna kuti Amalawi avutike. Makamaka madera amene mvula imagwa msanga ndikofunika kunena kuti agule katundu amene imwa msanga. The warning imene boma lapereka nkunena kuti aliyense amene asokoneze arrangement imeneyi, he's going to face the long arm of the law. Ngeti apempha Amalawi, ndikumva kuti pali nambala imene yayikidwa, tiyeni tikhale cheru, tionetsetse kunena kuti mavenda they are not taking advantage, chifukwa fertilizer amene ndi wa Amalawi amene ndi alimi, kuti alime kuti tithane ndi njala imene mabwera chaka ndi chaka. Koma tonsefe titenge udindo kunena kuti tisachite abuse system imene. Boma lili ndi chikonzero chabwino kunena kuti Amalawi agule fertilizer pa mtengo wabwino komanso mosavutika. Mukaona zina zake zosakhala bwino mdera lanu, kaneneni ku polisi ndipo apolisi adzathandiza mwansanga. Osazitengera zinthu m'manja mwathu iyayi. Nthawi zonse pakakhala chake cholakwika, tiyeni tipite ku polisi tikanene ndipo apolisi atithandiza. Koma ndi cholinga cha President Chakwera kuti aliyense, we are talking of over 4 million households, kuti apeze fertilizer ameneyo. Madera amene kumagwa mvula mwamsanga tawathandize mwamsanga, ndipo let us all be responsible, chifukwa this is the only country that we have. Tipepese madera ena sisi kwenda bwino, we have seen pictures kumene mpaka ena kumagona konko masiku awiri atatu. Sicholinga cha Chakwera kuti President Chakwera kunena kuti zimenezi zichitike. And for your information, the President even mentioned kuti ngakhale kumudzi kwawo, he had the people there have also the same challenges. So sikutiza siya kapena kusankha, koma tiapemphe the responsible officers akunduna wa zaulimi kuti onetsetse kunena kuti imeneyi iyende bwino, kuti pasakhale zotchinga zana zili zonse. And where you are in doubt, please let the police know, and let us not take the issues with our own hands. Well, on that note, we have now come to the very end of the 11th edition of the weekly brief. I would like to thank you most kindly for coming to this edition. As I said, we cannot do all what we are doing without you members of the press. So we are very grateful for your coming, and we are hoping that we'll see you next week. After everything, please let us help ourselves with a cup of tea and some drinks and snacks. And see you next week, and thank you for coming once again.
Brian Banda concluding the 11th edition of the weekly brief. Just briefly in conclusion, the take-home message. The take-home message is that the weekly brief will be taking a break from the 15th of December to somewhere around January when it will be coming back. But then when it comes back, it will be held 49